Tonight, a Las Vegas icon is bowing out after over 20 years in the game. Everything's up at least 50%, in some cases 60 to 70%. I'm hitting this place every week for cupcakes until the doors lock. It's wild. You don't need to look hard to spot the trend anymore. Closed signs are popping up all over Vegas like burnt out bulbs on an old sign. At Palms Place, the poolside kitchen is history. Over in Henderson, the sweet smell of Bell's barbecue has faded after a solid decade. And in the Southeast Valley, the Cupcakery, total neighborhood staple, is ticking down the days to its final batch after 20 years. Even the Strip is taking hits. From Laguna Pool House to American Beer and Cocktails on the Link Promenade, shutters are slamming down faster than new spots can open up. Behind every locked door, it's the same old song. Rents are skyrocketing. Weekday crowds are thinning and profit margins are vanishing. Vegas didn't just lose its flavor overnight. It's literally pricing itself out of business. Because when kitchens go dark in the land of the all-you-can-eat buffet, it's not just about losing a restaurant. It's losing community, history, and that shimmering illusion that Vegas always offers. Second chances. Walk into Palms Place on a random Tuesday afternoon, and you'll hear the one sound every casino fears. Absolute silence. The pool deck that used to be packed is a ghost town. The shiny bar tops catch nothing but sunlight, and the menus hang there like relics from a golden age. This month, Chef Luke Palladino quietly pulled the plug on both Laguna Pool House and Kitchen and Rojo Lounge, wiping out two of the few all-day food spots left there. And that wasn't the first hit. Just weeks before that, Palms Resort lost two heavy hitters, Mabel's Barbecue, run by James Beard winner Michael Simon, and Vetri Cucina, the high-end flagship from Mark Vetri. That's 4 shutdowns in 2 months inside a billion-dollar complex that was supposed to prove Vegas was back. The suits gave the usual speech about strategic pivots, but the locals know better. The math just doesn't add up anymore. Overhead kept climbing, rent, labor, power bills, while the midweek foot traffic completely dried up. Even a resort with Grammy-level lighting couldn't shake the weekday slump. A pool that used to crawl with influencers and business travelers now reflects nothing but empty desert sky. One bartender mentioned they keep ice in the bins just for show, but admits most nights they wrap up before 10 o'clock. For decades, the Palms sold a specific dream, luxury you could actually touch. It was affordable indulgence for locals who wanted the Strip vibe without the Strip price tag. Now it's trapped in the same death spiral as the competition, chasing those high net worth tourists who fly in for a weekend, blow a ton of cash, and vanish. The staff who built the place on good vibes are getting their hours slashed, waiting around for guests who'd never show up. This isn't just a culinary loss, it's symbolic. When restaurants inside major resorts start folding, it's a massive red flag that the Vegas recovery narrative is full of holes. That silence. Out by the pool? It's not a pause, it's an alarm bell. Palms Place, once the epitome of modern cool, is starting to feel like a museum of excess. Polished, curated, and creepy in its stillness. If the glitzy resorts can't keep their kitchens running, what chance does the little guy have when the music stops? The scent of sugar might still linger, but the ovens are cooling down. At the Cupcakery, a Vegas favorite for nearly 20 years, the final trays are set to come out on February 1st, 2026. Owner Pamela Jenkins poured her heart out on Facebook, calling it the full heaven and hell experience of running a small business. She didn't lose her drive. She lost her margins. Rent spiked, ingredient costs doubled, power bills went haywire, and even her die-hard regulars started tightening their belts. When the Cupcakery launched in 2006, a $5 treat felt like an affordable luxury. Now, that same cupcake costs nearly $10, and somehow the profit is smaller. In her post, Jenkins said the quiet part out loud. Trying to maintain quality actually killed her profitability. It's not just one bakery going under. It's a snapshot of the middle class collapsing in Vegas. This same silent struggle is happening in every corner cafe, sushi spot, and breakfast diner that used to survive on steady, everyday regulars. Economists have a fancy term for it: margin compression. Locals just call it survival roulette. Vegas was built on volume, thousands of small transactions that made everyone feel like they were part of the action. But when working families stop walking through the door, the math turns ugly fast. A shop that needed 100 customers a day is now lucky to get 40. A dozen employees turn into 6, then 3, until it's just one person locking up for the last time. This squeeze isn't about laziness or lack of dreams. It's rising costs smashing into falling traffic. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority reported visitation dipped 8.8% in September, while hotel occupancy fell to 78.7%. That's millions of fewer people buying coffee, cupcakes, and cocktails. When hotel rooms sit empty during the week, every small business near the Strip feels the pinch. Deliveries slow down, catering gigs dry up. And the loyal regulars, bartenders, dealers, stagehands, stop spending because their own hours are getting cut. The tragedy is that these mom and pop shops gave Vegas its actual flavor, both literally and culturally. They were the bridge between the billionaire steakhouses and the cheap tourist buffets. Now that bridge is collapsing and every closed sign leaves a bitter aftertaste. A city that used to pride itself on excess can't even afford its own sweetness anymore. In Las Vegas, even cupcakes aren't safe. The smoke used to roll down Eastern Avenue like a promise. You could smell Bell's Barbecue blocks away before you even saw the sign. Pecan wood burning slow, ribs caramelizing under that desert sun, and laughter spilling out onto the sidewalk. For 10 years, this wasn't just a food joint, it was a heartbeat. Now the pit is cold, the smoker is quiet, and the last brisket has been sliced. Owner John Bell announced the shutdown with a post that felt more like a love letter than a press release. He thanked the customers who became family and admitted the hardest part wasn't locking the doors. It was saying goodbye to the people who kept them open. After a decade of 14-hour days, skyrocketing supply costs, and shrinking profits, Bell decided to walk away. His reason was simple. His family needs him too. But behind that graceful exit is the same burnout you see all over small business Vegas. It's the quiet exhaustion of working twice as hard for half as much. For Henderson locals, Bell's wasn't just a lunch spot, it was where birthdays happened, where Little League teams lined up for catfish and cornbread. Now, another light goes dark. It's joining a growing roster of neighborhood icons wiped out by what economists term cost pressure attrition. But to the community, it just feels like grief. The economy in Vegas has always revolved around tourism, but businesses like Bell's, they fed the city's soul. These were the places that gave locals pride, places that weren't just profitable. When those doors lock for the last time, something deeper is lost too. The belief that you can still build a life here without a massive corporate logo backing you up. And let me tell you, that belief is fading fast. 10 years ago, Bell's Barbecue stood tall through recessions, pandemics, and rent spikes. But what it couldn't survive was the brutal new math of Las Vegas. A calculus where soaring wages, utility costs, and vanishing weekday crowds make that old school hospitality impossible to sustain. Even success, it seems, now comes with an expiration date. On that last night, John Bell stayed late, wiping down the counter one final time. He taped a simple note to the door. Thank you for making us part of your story. But here is what most people miss. Bell's Barbecue was a massive part of Las Vegas's story too. The part that is quietly fading away, one smoker at a time. The neon might still burn bright on the Link Promenade, but the laughter that once spilled off those patios, gone. Now a single bulb flickers over the shuttered doors of American beer and cocktails. For 10 years, locals and tourists raised cans from all 50 states, toasting to weekends that felt endless. Now, the taps are bone dry. The music has stopped, and the final pour drained out on September 28th, 2025. When American opened a decade back, it wasn't supposed to end like this. It was the kind of joint that captured the very best of Vegas. Simple pleasures wrapped in neon light. No velvet ropes, no overpriced bottle service, just cold beer and good noise. But the economics that fueled that magic have turned cruel. Rents climbed, supplier costs skyrocketed, and those weekday crowds thinned out as tourists cut back on their spending. Even bars, the literal lifeblood of Vegas nightlife, are fighting just to keep the lights on. The owners announced the closure quietly, hinting at a new location soon. But locals recognize that tone. It's hopeful, not certain, because in today's Vegas, hope doesn't pay the rent. In interviews, bar managers all across the strip say the same thing. Weekdays are ghost towns. Fridays start slow, and drink sales just can't keep up with the city's ballooning. Prices. A $22 cocktail might work inside the Bellagio chandelier glow, but for neighborhood bars and mid-tier hangouts, it's a death sentence. The fall of American beer and cocktails isn't just another business failure. It's symbolic. For years, it was the watering hole between worlds, a place where tourists met off-shift dealers and bartenders, swapped war stories with cabbies. It was human. It was loud. It was alive. Everything the new Vegas isn't. Now, as independent, bars vanish, nightlife is consolidating into corporate lounges with algorithmic playlists and $9 music bottled water. Vegas still sells itself as the city that never sleeps. But the soundtrack has definitely changed. The dive bars are dying. The small stages are going silent. Even the bartenders, once the keepers of the city's chaos, are clocking out early. When a town that built its legend on excess starts losing the very places that made that excess feel fun, it's not just losing money, it's losing its meaning. The final toast at American wasn't loud or bitter, just a quiet cheers. The clink of two half-empty cans and a line that summed up Vegas in 2025. We used to drink because we had fun. Now we drink because we remember. From the outside, Las Vegas still glitters. The Bellagio fountains still dance, the Sphere still glows, and the Palm still towers over the desert like a beacon of excess. But step inside and the silence tells a very different story. This month alone, 2 more restaurants at Palm's Place have closed. Laguna Pool House and Kitchen and Rojo Lounge, both run by chef Luke Palladino. They join a growing roster that already includes Mabel's Barbecue and Vetri Cucina, 2 James Beard-winning establishments that shut their doors in September. The reason isn't scandal, it's arithmetic. High rent, shrinking foot traffic, rising labor costs. The math no longer works, even for the city's most celebrated chefs. Once, Vegas was a haven for culinary experimentation, a place where tourists poured in faster than restaurants could open. Now, the churn is brutal. Menus vanish overnight, dining rooms go dark, and even the Strip's 5-star towers quietly downsize their kitchen staff. Meanwhile, the luxury facade remains intact. Bellagio's lobby still smells like gardenia and gold leaf. Aria still flaunts private lounges for the elite. But behind those polished walls, the mid-tier businesses, the bakeries, the barbecue joints, and the neighborhood bars that gave the city its flavor are collapsing in unison. What survives is only what can afford to pretend everything is fine. For the rest, the mirage is fading. In Henderson, Bell's Barbecue is gone. On Eastern Avenue, the Cupcakery counts down its final weeks. And at the Link, the taps have run dry. Each closure peels back another layer of illusion, proof that even in a city built on spectacle, reality eventually wins. Economists call this the hollowing of hospitality. The city keeps its sparkle for the cameras, but beneath it, the economic scaffolding is cracking. Small business owners describe a feeling of inevitability. It's like watching water drain from a fountain you can't refill. Tourists still come, but fewer stay, and fewer still spend like they used to. Vegas hasn't stopped moving. It's just moving in one direction, up market. The result is a city that feels both rich and poor at the same time, gleaming on the surface, but ghostly underneath. When luxury becomes the only thing left standing, even success starts to feel like failure. Because a mirage, no matter how beautiful, can't feed a city forever. From a helicopter, Las Vegas still looks alive. It's a web of light stretching into the desert, pulsing with color. But closer to the ground, behind the shimmer of the Strip, entire blocks are dimming. Restaurants, bars, boutiques, going quiet, one by one. There, signs still glow faintly, like ghosts of what used to be. It's not a headline-grabbing collapse. It's a slow bleed, and it's spreading. Economists at UNLV's Center for Business and Economic Research call it a structural contraction. That is just a fancy way of saying the city is shrinking in on itself. Tourism has dropped, small, business revenue is thinned, and local wages aren't keeping pace with the rising cost of living. For every restaurant that closes on the Strip, 3 small service jobs vanish in the neighborhoods. Bartenders turn to gig work, waiters pick up second jobs, and housekeepers, the invisible. The very soul of Vegas hospitality, the workers, are quietly packing up and leaving town. And the data backs them up. We're looking at an 8.8% drop in foot traffic year over year. Convention crowds are down nearly 19%, and weekday hotel occupancy has slumped to 78.7%, levels we haven't seen since 2019. But the scary part is, what's missing from the spreadsheets? The ripple effect. When a staple like Laguda Pool House or Bell's Barbecue turns off the lights, it doesn't just kill a kitchen. It drags a whole ecosystem down with it. Vendors, delivery drivers, local bands, janitors, everyone gets caught in the undertow. Locals say it feels like a dark echo of 2008 crash. Only this time, it's slower, quieter, meaner. And there's no housing bubble to point the finger at. This is self-inflicted. Vegas backed itself into a corner, swapping loyalty for luxury and volume for vanity. And now the fallout is visible in every strip mall across the valley. Vacant storefronts that used to hum with local life now sit dark next to nail salons. Their windows papered over with for lease signs that never seem to come down. Even the trade schools are feeling the pinch. Enrollment in casino dealer courses has been free-falling since 2024. Training centers that once sold the dream of steady paychecks are struggling to fill chairs. When fewer people see a future here, the spiral just accelerates. A city that runs on ambition is losing its believers. Vegas has survived downturns, recessions, pandemics, even total shutdowns. But this feels different. It's not the lights going out all at all once. It's the lights burning bright over an empty room. In a town built on smoke and mirrors, you rarely get the truth from the suits. But this time, it slipped out. During MGM's third quarter earnings call, CEO Bill Hornbuckle dropped 5 words you never expect from a Vegas power broker. Shame on us. And no, he wasn't talking about a bad run at the tables or a PR nightmare. He was talking about coffee, specifically a $12 cup at Excalibur that went viral and became the poster child for everything wrong with the modern strip. For years, the executives preached quality over quantity, which was just code for chasing whales and pricing out the budget. Travelers. It worked, right until it didn't. Now MGM's Vegas revenue has tanked 7% year over year, dragged down by empty rooms, quiet tables, and guests who finally decided they'd had enough. Hornbuckle admitted what millions of tourists already figured out. The city that once promised a good time for everyone had morphed into a luxury trap. He told the analyst point blank, "You can't have a $29 room and a $12 coffee." But that is exactly what Vegas became, a place where the math of hospitality stopped adding up. Sure, at high-end spots like the Bellagio and Aria, business held steady. But at budget-friendly resorts like Excalibur and Luxor, the numbers fell off a cliff. The families that used to crowd those hallways are staying home. And international travelers, especially the Canadians, they've dropped nearly 18% thanks to rising costs and a weak exchange rate. You can see the slump at the airport too. Passenger numbers at Harry Reid International dipped 6.4% in September, the sharpest drop since the post-pandemic rebound. Less foot traffic means fewer gamblers, fewer dinners bought, and fewer impulse trips, the very lifeblood of this city. And while the CEOs try to spin this as temporary softness, the reality is brutal. The house played itself. Corporate Vegas forgot rule number 1. People don't come here to be reminded of reality. They come to escape it. When a $12 coffee and a $55 resort fee slap you in the face before you even hit the blackjack table, that fantasy dies instantly. Hornbuckle's apology was rare, maybe even human. But sorry doesn't pay the dealers or keep the neon on. It just confirms what the locals have been whispering for months. The Strip is losing its grip. And it's not because of competition, it's because of arrogance. Vegas was built on reinvention. But lately, it's reinvented itself right out of the average person's reach. And when a city starts charging people just to dream, it shouldn't be shocked when they finally wake up. At night, the Strip still glows like it always has. The billboards flash, the fountains dance, and the tour buses crawl past the same neon fantasies. But if you listen closely, you'll hear it. Vegas was never built for silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the hollow silence of a crowd that never showed up. According to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, tourism dropped 8.8% year over year in September. That's nearly 300,000 missing people in a single month. Convention attendance nosedived 18.7%, and midweek occupancy slid to 78.7%, the lowest figure since the pandemic. The economists call it softer leisure demand. The locals put it simply: people stopped believing the city was worth the price tag. It's not just the money, it's the vibe. Visitors land here expecting the Vegas of legend: spontaneous, loud, electric.